Welcome to Lotus Me Bloom podcast. This is your host, Madison Ansel, and in this podcast, I talk a lot about spirituality, self-development, things I've learned, and so much more. So if you're into that type of stuff, then you found the right podcast. Hi everyone, welcome back to the podcast. So today's episode is all about anxiety, how I deal with my anxiety, and just some tips that I can help share with you and hopefully help you manage your anxiety a little bit better. Maybe some things you have not tried before. I have tried everything you can think of, and honestly, there's not one answer for you. Like, there's not going to be one thing that I'm like, yep, this is going to solve it. But a lot of these things I still do to help manage it and to help keep my mental health in check, especially when it comes to anxiety. I have had anxiety my whole life, unfortunately, since I was a little kid. My entire life has been ebbs and flows of like when anxiety's bad and when it's not so bad. And thankfully, I have gotten to a place where I truly don't have anxiety that much. I still do, for sure. Let me get that straight. But compared to the past, my anxiety is like almost nothing. And if I do have anxiety, I know what to do about it, and I know how to lessen the anxiety and get through the day. So we're going to talk about it, and I'm going to help you because trust me, I have done all the things. I've tried all the things, and I have found things that do really, really work, but it's just a process. You have to find what works for you. And there are some things that I do feel like are more important than other things that I do feel like play a huge role into why you have anxiety. I just want to give a little backstory. Like I said, I've had anxiety since I was a kid. I've just always been very hypersensitive. And when I say like hypersensitive, if you don't know what that means, it's just really being sensitive to energy. You feel other people's energy. You just are really like tapped in that way. So when someone's like, oh, I'm overly sensitive, it's not that like their feelings get hurt all the time. It's just like you feel everything. And I want to say that's kind of like what being an empath is, but I just feel like sometimes that whole word is just cringy because of like everyone overusing it, and it's not actually like what the word is anymore. So yeah, as a kid, I just remember having panic attacks all the time. I didn't know what was going on. I'd just like shiver and like, yeah, essentially just go into this like mode of my body shutting down. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but it was like I was shivering. Like, I could not stop shaking, like trembles. I was always someone that was very in their head about everything. And I think, you know, I blame it sometimes on my Virgo moon. I still have those characteristics, but I would just overthink everything. And I think that's what anxiety is too. Like, you just can't get out of your head. And I would have like little things that I'd get like afraid of. Like, I was afraid of puking when I was younger. That almost made me feel like I was going to puke. I would have a lot of nights of like feeling like I'm not going to wake up in the morning and like just freaking out about it, or like feeling like I can't get enough air. And little do you know, or did I know, that anxiety does cause like you to not be able to breathe as much. It does cause physical ailments. So some people that have anxiety will get called like a hypochondriac. I know that's me. Because anxiety does cause physical symptoms in your body. You can literally pass the fuck out if you're scared about passing the fuck out. It can make you have chest pains, all these things. And I do talk a little bit about my anxiety in my health journey podcast that I have. Check that out for sure, because I do feel like my health played a lot into my anxiety. But yeah, so I had ebbs and flows of that. Eventually, you know, I kind of grew out of that, but there was a lot of nights where I would stay awake and just be in so much fear that someone's going to break into my house, and just have these like irrational thoughts. And the thing is, we don't ever know why we actually have anxiety for sure. There's so many different things I feel that plays into anxiety. I think it can definitely be genetics, and anxiety runs very deep in my family. I definitely feel like it can be environment, how you grew up, your childhood. Also, I think the spiritual aspect plays into it. If you are very hypersensitive, you may be feeling way too fucking much. You may just be feeling everyone's energy. You may be feeling energy that you can't actually see. That was something that I had to deal with, and I will definitely talk about that later in the podcast episode. But you can just be, feeling all these things, but also it could be past life stuff if you want to get into that. So there's many layers to it. I'm sure from a doctor standpoint, they'll be like, oh, well, this happens and whatever. But I truly feel like it's just thinking a lot. It's being very aware, almost too aware sometimes, of certain outcomes that maybe that was programmed into you when you were a child. Like maybe you had to really be cautious of your parents' emotions because, just all that type of like childhood stuff, like why certain things made us into who we are. If your parent had really bad anxiety, probably got transferred onto you. And if you're constantly overanalyzing everything, it's just honestly like a survival tactic. And I just want to say that if you do go through this, I so see you. And I don't know why I'm like getting in my feels right now, but I just know how hard it is to turn off the mind sometimes, and to not overanalyze everything. Yes, we can blame astrology like I do. My Virgo placements, I'm always like, that's just me. But no, really, it's how we prevent things from happening. We overanalyze everything because, for example, in my own life, I tend to look at every scenario that can happen in a situation, whether I'm making a big decision in my life or I'm just like going back and forth with how someone feels and how it's going to play out if I say this or if I don't say this. And truly what it is, it's that we're trying to prevent us feeling like pain or suffering. And it's a survival tactic. I realized that me overanalyzing everything and trying to figure out what's the best way to go is just honestly very exhausting, but it's because I'm trying to prevent myself from making the wrong decision. And I just want to say, if you are like me at all, there's never a wrong decision. I heard my teacher just talk about this the other day. No matter what, whatever decision you make is going to lead you to where you need to be. For example, I truly wish after the first place I left doing Reiki, before going to the next place, because I was going to the next place in fear and worry of I don't know what to do with my life, like what's the next step, I wish I would have waited and really thought through what I wanted for my life and if that was something I wanted to continue. But instead I jumped into it. But guess what? I learned that through jumping into this situation I got in and, not having the success I wanted, it made me realize what I didn't want. And I didn't want to do Reiki anymore. So if you have this mentality like mine, just know that whatever decision you make is for the best, highest good of all, because you will get to where you want to go. I promise. Yeah, we might just have to take a little path that might be longer than where we really wanted to go, but at least we know for sure. Because if I would have never went and tried Reiki in this new location, I would have always wondered, what if? Well, what if I would have just tried? But that's how I am. I'm very stubborn, and I needed to get it out of my system in a way. I needed to say I tried and it didn't work and now I'm going to move on. I needed that for myself, like that closure. So please know that if you are worrying about a decision you have to make, it's going to work out. Whether it's for the best and that's what you love to do, or you're going to find, hey, I actually don't want to do this anymore. And that's okay. So I just wanted to quickly touch on that because I know that's how my mind works. So it is very exhausting. From someone outside looking in that does not have anxiety, it's very hard to relate to them. Like my boyfriend, he is chill as a cucumber, almost too chill sometimes. And he definitely has like a little bit of social anxiety, but he just does not understand how my brain works. Like, I know my brain is like on like 10 times speed, like if you were to like fast forward a video, it's like on the go, constantly thinking. His is probably like on slow-mo. When I process things and I have to process things out loud, he's just like, whoa, like he just can't really comprehend. But that's just how my brain works. I have to think of every little thing. And I also have been told by a lot of people on TikTok that they think I have ADHD. So maybe that's it. I don't know. I know that there's so many different things that play into one another. I don't know if I have ADHD. I've never been told that. But every time I like say something about how I think and how I process things, I get people in my comments saying I have that. So I don't know. I did get diagnosed with anxiety my senior year of high school, but I have had it my whole life for sure. And it's very strong in my family. Like I said, my sister definitely suffers with it as well. So yeah, I just wanted to touch on like my past with it. I have been on antidepressants. I was on them my senior year of high school, and truly it shut down my anxiety because it numbed me out. But also there was times where like I would have like really bad panic attacks and it didn't really make sense. But for the most part, I had like no anxiety. Like I didn't give a fuck about anything. And then when I did get off my antidepressants, my anxiety did come back. But here's the thing too. I want to say that there is good anxiety. And I didn't realize this when I was on antidepressants because I didn't give a fuck. There is anxiety that is just our soul, our higher self telling us, hey, let's not go down that route. Hey, let's not do this. Let's not hang out with these people. There is good anxiety. And so when I got my anxiety back, quotation, I realized a lot of the shit that I was doing in my life was like not okay. And I had to clean up my act really quickly because I was like, what the fuck am I doing? Like, how have I been doing this for the last couple years? Like, this isn't okay. Like, it sent me into like a little bit of a freak out mode, but it was like a good freak out mode because I got my life together. So there is good anxiety. I will say that. But I do want to touch on too, before I get into everything that has helped me, there is a difference between an anxiety attack and a panic attack. And I have explained this to people quite a few times, and I feel like I know how to explain it well just from my own experience. So this is just my own experience. A panic attack is something that is very sudden. It's out of nowhere. It's just out of the blue. An anxiety attack is like something that's been building up, and then it sends you into that sort of like panic attack. Like, for example, my senior year of high school, I had like a really bad panic attack because I was showing up to school really late. Like, not really late, but like I kept getting tardies, and I already was just having like a bad mental health day that morning, and I was late and I was like freaking the fuck out because I had already had a detention from being like late to my like middle class, like the middle of the day class. So I was like, oh my God, if I get one more like tardy, I'm gonna get another detention and like 2 detentions. Like, I think it takes your driving privileges away or something, which is fucking insane. But I just was getting in my head about it all day long, and then like I was just spiraling. So like by 3rd period, I literally was just like shaking, crying, having a full on anxiety attack. So that's kind of like an example of that. A panic attack can just hit you out of nowhere, and you could just all of a sudden start hyperventilating. So I have experience with both. Thankfully, I have not had a panic attack in a very, very long time. I still do suffer with anxiety, but my panic attacks are at a minimum. Thank fucking God. Honestly, my anxiety got so fucking bad during pandemic, like even before pandemic. I just was absorbing everything of the world, all the unknowns. And truly, I want to say anxiety is fear of the unknown. It is fear of shit that we don't know. And so if you are really in your head all the time, I'm going to have some things that have helped me try to get out of your head. And honestly, that's just what it is. So I have things that help me I'm going to jump into. But before I do, I just want to say, like, right before, things really started getting better for me, it got really bad. And it was to the point where I was like not wanting to drive because I had this intense fear that I was going to pass out. I just literally would almost pass out thinking about passing out. I would have to pull over, and sometimes it still happens. Like, it's still a lingering feeling for me. Definitely nothing crazy, but my health had a lot to do with it, and I'm going to get into that first. But I would have to pull over and honestly, like, just chill the fuck out for a minute because I thought I was going to pass out. So I had this fear that I was going to pass out and like crash into something. And even sometimes this happens still, like I get a little fearful sometimes when I'm pushing myself too hard at the gym that I'm going to pass out. And honestly, it's the fear of like, what's going to happen if I pass out right here. And so something I think about if you do have this fear like me is if you do pass out, someone's hopefully going to call 911 and someone's going to take care of you. Okay, you're going to be fine. Like, it's going to be all right. It's not that big of a deal. I have gotten lightheaded before, millions of times. And, I usually just lay down and I take some deep breaths and try to take it easy. But it is like a lingering fear. And I will say that a lot of it had to do with psychic stuff. I'm going to dive into that later in the episode, but I just realized I was absorbing way too much shit. I was like way too open to everything, and it was just like overdrive. I was on overdrive. It was way too much, going on. If you want to think of it as like a computer, I had way too many fucking tabs open and my computer was just overheating. So that is my experience with that there. And I did have a lot of anxiety with COVID, literally thinking I had COVID half the time because I had chest pains and, feeling like I can't breathe because of anxiety. So yeah, all of that was pretty bad. That was probably the worst my anxiety ever was, apart from when I was a little kid. Because when I was a little kid, I had some badass anxiety and I didn't tell anyone about it. That's the thing. So I don't even think my mom was aware or my parents were aware that I had this. I know there was one time when I was like 7 years old, maybe even younger, of my mom like holding me and like thinking that maybe she needs to take me to the hospital because I was literally like not convulsing, but I was like shaking so hard. So I've had those like over the years, but very minimal. Like I had them maybe a couple years ago, but I don't really know how to explain why your body does that. I think it's like fight or flight mode, but I never did tell like my parents like the stuff that I was thinking. I was very like, I don't know, inner turmoil with it. I just didn't tell anyone. So I'm glad like I didn't though, because I didn't have the best experience with antidepressants. And so I wouldn't have wanted to be on them at that young of an age, because God knows what could have happened. I'm not going to talk about my antidepressants story because it's not that like I'm against it. I truly just did not have a great experience. And over the years, I have had thoughts of like, man, maybe I should get back on them. Especially during the times where my anxiety was so bad. I was like, maybe I can just like get on a Boost bar or something, or like, I didn't want to get on Xanax, but I did think of those things. It's just, I'm almost scared to, I just, like I said, did not have a good experience. I did not like how they made me feel. And I was on them for like 3 years. And then I just got to a point where I'm like, okay, I can do this. I can manage and get through this. And I did. And so a lot of the things I'm going to share with you right now help me get through a lot of these hard times with anxiety. And I'm not going to talk so much about depression because I feel like that's a little bit of a different topic. These aren't things that I usually do for that, because I do feel like I've healed my depression for the most part. Anxiety is something that, she's just my girl. She just wants to hang out sometimes. And it's just something I think I'm going to have for the rest of my life, just because I am so hypersensitive to energy. And honestly, it is what it is. I think we all have anxiety at some point in our life, but mine is very manageable now. So let's get right into what has helped me. So number one thing, and I talked about this in my health journey podcast episode, but it is fixing your gut and food sensitivities. Now, I know that this one is a little like out there. I feel like people don't talk about it as much, but let me tell you, my gut was so fucked up during the whole time of me having extreme anxiety. My gut was fucked up and I was consuming a lot of foods that I should not have been consuming. My gut was messed up from taking antibiotics, and I was just living in this world of fear about everything. Healing your gut and working on your gut is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself and your mental health. And cutting out food sensitivities and stop consuming those food sensitivities will help your anxiety so much. For example, if you have a gluten sensitivity or celiac disease, you look up what happens when you consume gluten and you have a gluten sensitivity. It can cause depression, anxiety, mood swings, irritability. So much can happen when you consume gluten when you should not be consuming it. It really helped my anxiety so much when I cut gluten out. And maybe you don't want to go through the process of getting your food sensitivity tested and all of that stuff. I understand if you don't have the money for it, maybe try cutting gluten out, but just consuming things that is putting your body into fight or flight mode will honestly make your anxiety and depression so much worse. I truly believe that. For example, I am gluten and dairy free, but there has been times and still are times that I slip up on that. And usually it's like maybe once a month. I was going so strong last year, but then around Christmas, like I cheated around Christmas, just a little here and there, a little gluten here and there. And like the last month or so, I've been kind of slipping up a little more too, but it's usually like once a month. Now, last weekend, I have TikToks of me talking about this. I went all in. I had a Big Mac. I had pizza twice. I had a sub. I had all the things. I had cake on top of everything. So tell me why Monday morning I woke up feeling so unlike myself. completely unlike myself, crying uncontrollably. I was having a lot of negative thoughts, a lot of just like victim mentality, like woe is me. Also feeling very rageful, very fucking rageful. Ask my boyfriend. God, I felt so bad. And I didn't know why. And he knew. He was like, what's going on? Like, what's wrong? I was like, I don't know. I'm not feeling like myself. I don't know. He's like, yeah, I know. Like, this is not like you. I just was like I was having mood swings and I just kept crying. And I literally felt depressed. And I could not figure out why. I was like, what's going on? Like, I, ran my psychic tools, made sure nothing was in my space. Like, nope. Wasn't on my period. Not going to start my period for a while. It was 100% in my belief because of all of the shit I had that weekend before. And like I said, if you look up gluten sensitivities and what it can cause, that is a symptom. Anxiety and depression is a symptom. So I just think back of all of the years that I was consuming like dairy. I'm not quite sure what the side effects of dairy are, but just imagine it, okay? You are consuming things that your body can't fucking handle. Imagine your body just like going through it all the time, and like no wonder why it's playing into your mental health and making you have anxiety. I talk more about like my health journey in my obviously health podcast episode, but I just want to touch on that because I do feel like it's very, very important. And when I started to do all my gut stuff, it was the same time I was having extreme anxiety. So 2020 around there, and it got so much better. And some of the herbal supplements she gave me, which I will talk about, some of the supplements I do take do help with anxiety. This is something that is really a passion of mine now because I don't feel like people talk about it enough. Even eating processed foods and all the toxins that are in our environment and our food, like all the shit that's in processed food, I try to avoid because I can't have most of it anyways. But it does play a role on your mental health. It truly does. So I always will say to like try to find someone that you can work with, like especially holistically, that can help you through this. Some supplements I take that help and that are supposed to help with anxiety is California poppy. I know in the past I've taken ashwagandha. It's supposed to help with anxiety. I'm on this stuff that I just started. It's called ion biomine. I want to say, or I am. Yeah, I think that's how you say it. Anyways, it's supposed to help with your gut, and I have just already started to feel like really good, and I've only been taking it a couple of days. So maybe that's something you want to look into or ask your practitioner about. But those are some supplements I've taken. I've tried CBD. I don't really feel like CBD has done anything for me. I do feel like it might help at night, but it's just one of those things, like my aunt will give me some and I do take it before bed, but I don't really know if it actually helps with anything. I do notice that it does help me like be regular, like in the morning. I go to the bathroom like right after I wake up. But other than that, like I don't feel like CBD has helped me that much. So this next one I have to include, I know you're not going to want to hear it, but it's exercising. I know, but really, truly, it helps you get out of your fucking head. Going to the gym for me hasn't even really necessarily been about like losing weight or trying to look a certain way. It's for my mental health. It helps you get out of your fucking head into your body. And it's a great time to just be present and be with yourself. And when you go to the gym, you know that you have to like finish your workout for you to leave. Like it's no bullshit. It's not like, oh, I'm going to put it off. I'll work out later, which is something I do a lot because we do have a gym in the basement. So when I wasn't going to the gym, I would be doing that and then I wouldn't exercise at all. So just get to the point of like, I'm just going to move my body for at least 5 minutes a day, at least 5 minutes. I try to do at least 30 now, but you just moving your body and helping move that energy that might be stuck in your body, because that's important too. We can store a lot of emotions in our body. It helps break up that energy, that stuck, stagnant energy. And also, it's a great way to relieve like any type of very intense emotions you may be feeling. It just helps you get to a place of neutrality. And obviously, like scientifically, it helps release serotonin levels. So that's always great too. So I just had to include that. Okay. Whatever it is that you can move your body, maybe it's dancing, maybe it's yoga, maybe it's going for a walk, just helping yourself get present, I think is so, so important when you have anxiety, because like I said earlier, anxiety is fear of the future. It's fear of the unknown. Not necessarily fear of the future, but it's fear of the unknown. It's fear of things that we don't know what's going to happen. And it's honestly, I think why some people that have anxiety do have a little bit of control issues. It's because we're trying to alleviate that worry. And I think that's why it's so important that we need to be present. So something that I like to do, and I haven't done it in a while, but if you have a hard time like being present, is just look around you and be like, oh, that tree's really pretty, or oh, look at those flowers, or that car ahead of me, it's red. Like state the obvious, but it does help you bring yourself back to present. And I think it's something really powerful that I learned quite a few years ago that I do try to do if I'm like really, really in my head, or I'm feeling anxious all of a sudden. I try to just like come back to present time and try to get out of the head. But I'll talk about that here in a second. So insomnia, we're going to talk about it, because essentially that's just like your brain going 1,000 miles a minute and you're just thinking entirely too much. At least that's for me. I do have insomnia from time to time, and honestly, I just try to ride it out most of the time. But it's like, I'm just thinking about everything. And it's not so much like I'm having anxiety about things. It's just like I'm thinking about everything at a very inconvenient time when I'm trying to go to sleep. So there are some things that you can do, like meditation. There's crystals that help with this. There's crystals that help with anxiety, like amethyst, and white halite is a good one. And I have all those crystals on my website, lotusmebloom.com. Something that helps me like really get ready for bed is doing somatic exercises. And I want to talk about this more in depth of like what it is, but it basically helps release like stored trauma in your body. And I haven't fully dedicated myself to doing the full course that I bought on it, so I will update you when I do. But it just helps like your nervous system and regulating your nervous system, which like I know my teacher once told me if you put like an ice pack on your chest, it helps regulate like your vagus nerve. But just helping the body calm down and like get into your body instead of your head helps me calm down a little bit to go to sleep. Obviously, like if you want to take a bath or something, and just making it a time where you start cutting off the phone time, TV time. Like make sure when you're going to sleep, you're doing it with like this intention of I'm going to sleep. I'm going to make the lights lower and try to not be on my phone. And I'm preaching to the choir here, okay? Because I get on my phone up until I go to sleep, which is very bad. I'm trying to work on it, but it is something that I try not to do. Also, first thing in the morning, don't just get on your phone. Because if you think about it, right before you go to sleep and right when you wake up, you're still in that in-between phase and your subconscious mind is wide open. So it's a great time to do things like affirmations and like visualization and stuff like that. But if you're consuming things like this morning, I try to wait a little bit before I get on my phone. But I got on my phone and was like reading stuff on Facebook, and I literally exited out because I was like, I do not need to be reading about this situation of people talking about this situation right when I'm waking up. Nope. That's not good energy for me. So I counteracted that and listened to some affirmations. Affirmations will be your best fucking friend if you have anxiety. I'll talk about that here in a minute. But yeah, canceling that phone time, that screen time really helps. If you are like having an anxiety attack, I will say affirmations help incredibly, so much. Love them. It just helps me talk myself out of how I'm feeling. And I'm going to get into that here shortly. But I also want to say, if you're having really hard time sleeping, try cord cutting. If you don't know what cord cutting is, I'm not going to get too far into it, but it's basically refreshing the energy between you and other people. So I'm going to hop into more of the like spiritual sense of what anxiety is. I truly believe, at least for myself, if you are very hypersensitive, anxiety is just a bunch of different energy coming at you and you're absorbing all of it. So you need to find a way that you can decompress and take your energy back. So cord cutting will help you with that. Basically, it's anytime we talk to someone, there's a cord that's connecting us with them, whether it's good or bad. We all have cords to our family, interactions at work, whatever. So you can intentionally like imagine like scissors cutting the cord between you two, or like I like to call on Archangel Michael and bring down his sword and refresh the energy. It just helps get your energy back, give them their energy, and make sure you get all the roots that come out of the cord. So you can imagine it, or you can like just whatever way you process things. Maybe it's just like hearing it or just saying it, but I just like to imagine it happening. You can just say, hey, Archangel Michael, can you please like cut this cord between me and this person? You can do it of like a group of people. I will just kind of like think of a whole group of like maybe a circle or like a ball of energy, whatever. But that helps so much, because essentially people can be siphoning your energy. So you definitely want to call back your energy every night and just say, I call back all my energy from all time and space, and I give anyone's energy that I interacted with all day, give their energy back to them. I usually just do the first part, like I'd call back all my energy. But having that spiritual hygiene is really important, especially if you are very hypersensitive. And there are crystals that can help you with protection and just calling back your energy and having those boundaries. There's crystals that help you with that. And of course, everything I'm saying is just a suggestion. It's just something that you can try to see if it works for you. Obviously, you don't have to do all of this stuff. You will find what works for you. I just want to share all this because I want to give you guys options. And I still do all of these things, maybe not all at once, but I know that they're in like my little tool bag that I can, get out and pull all my tools out when I need it, whatever works for you in that moment. Not all of these things work for me in the moment I need them to, like for example, something I really, really like for my anxiety is essential oils. They help calm me down. There are 2 oils from doTERRA that I love mixing together when I'm having anxiety and just like putting it on the back of my hands. It is Balance and Serenity, but I actually made like roller balls that I sell on my website that have amethyst in them and lavender and that mixture of both of those oils. So you don't have to buy both, and you can just roll it on the back of your hand. And then I charge them with Reiki. So if that's something you're interested in, definitely check it out. But those help me for a really, really, really long time. Peppermint helped me. Peppermint helps open up the airways. So if you do have anxiety where you feel like you can't breathe, that will help you a lot. I actually lean more towards peppermint than lavender most times, but peppermint helped me a lot. So that's just something like I keep in mind when I'm feeling anxiety. I pull those things out. So if that's something you want to try, definitely check it out. I am a doTERRA like consultant, just really for myself. But if you ever want to buy some oils, you can do that. I have a link on my website. It'll take you to like my page or hit me up, whatever. Something that is very, very, very important to do when you have anxiety is ground yourself. You need to be grounded. Majority of people that suffer with anxiety tend to be in their head a lot. And that's why I always say, like, try to get into your body, out of your head, make sure you stay in the present moment. And grounding helps you do just that. So you need to make sure like you're balanced in that area. So some things that you can do to ground yourself is walking in the grass barefoot and, feeling the earth beneath you. And something I tell a lot of like my Reiki clients is to form like a cord that connects you to the core of the earth. Imagine it coming up through all the layers and hooking into your root chakra. If you don't know anything about chakras, I have that on my website as well. Especially if you go to the root chakra candle, it'll have all the information about what it can feel like if it's in balance or out of balance. But your root chakra is at the base of your spine. So like imagining it like hooking into it. You can do like tree roots or whatever you want to do, but just ground yourself in that way. I think that's one of the most powerful things. When I started doing that, it changed my life. But I'm going to give you a little secret. Make sure that you imagine like a button or a lever that says release, and imagine everyone's energy that you like talk to that day or whatever going down into the grounding cord. Imagine anxiety being a different color like purple and going down the grounding cord. Just ground out anything that is not your energy, but make sure that you also are bringing in your energy as you're releasing. So you can call back your energy. You can imagine your energy being like blue and coming down into your crown or gold or whatever, and just saying, I call back my energy from all time and space. That helps bring back your energy while you're releasing everyone else's. When I started imagining people going down my grounding cord, it helped me so much. And I actually felt like for once in my life, I was in my own energy, because most of the time we're not. We're always talking to people. We're always interacting. It's hard to sometimes decipher if it's our energy or someone else's. So if you're that type of person, and you'll get there if you're becoming more aware, and I'm sure you are if you're just listening to this podcast in general. But if you're the type that if someone's really pissed off and you're negative and you start feeling pissed off and negative, you're more than likely in some form like an empath. Like I said, I don't really like the term anymore, but you are probably more of the hypersensitive people that I'm talking to. If you can feel people's energy and you can feel when someone's upset or whatever the case is, doing this for yourself, grounding, is so fucking important. And this is one of the most top ones not to forget to do if you have anxiety. Eating heavier food. Sometimes I like to do that if I'm feeling very up here. I am an air sign. I'm a Libra. If you have a lot of air in your chart, or if you want to get into Ayurveda is something that I learned in the beginning of the year maybe, but it really opened up my eyes to just what I should be doing for myself. So if you don't know what Ayurveda is, it's kind of hard to explain. I don't have that much time to talk all about it, but it is like the sister science to yoga. And there's like 3 main things they talk about, which is like Vata, Kapha, and Pitta. I don't know if I said that right, but it's like earth, fire, water. And it's basically like everyone has like them all in like their system, but you're going to have one more than the other. So I have like a lot of fire in my chart, so I need to do cooling things for myself. And there's certain times in the day where it's like Kapha, Pitta, like past 10:30, you're getting into Pitta time. So you might have that like energy of like not wanting to go to sleep or wanting to work on things because you're getting into that Pitta time. You're getting into that like fire energy sign, like, the fire energy time. So there's so much that you can go into, but there is something like if you have a lot of air, you're going to need to be eating things that are a little bit heavier. And that is something that you can really look into to help with your anxiety as well. I try to eat heavier foods just in general because it makes me feel full and makes me feel more in my body. But at the same time, like, I know for me, eating cooler foods is supposed to be better for me, but that's just something I wanted to share because I definitely feel like it goes into grounding. Just having those like earthy foods, maybe root vegetables, those type of things. If you want to get into like the holistic side of it, look into it. I promise, like, if you're into any of the stuff that I'm talking about, you will love Ayurveda. I don't even know the half of it, but I thought it was so interesting. And I wish I knew the title of the book. That I might have it on Instagram. So if you're curious, message me on Instagram. I will find you the book. I found it at Five Below, all about Ayurveda, and it's like an introduction to it. I didn't finish it, but what I did read was really awesome. So the next thing I want to talk about is more psychic woo-woo, but you want to make sure if you are having all of these things that I'm talking about and you do resonate with a lot of this, you may have a lot of psychic gifts. So you may just need to check to see if there might be anything in your space psychically. For me, I like found out when I was like going through my really bad anxiety was that I was feeling energy that was not just, people I knew, but also spirits. And I still to this day, like, if I feel it out of nowhere, I need to sit down and be like, okay, is there something in my space? Is there a spirit in my space? I'm not going to get too much into that because I know that's not going to resonate with everyone. But if you are like me and you do feel like that resonates with you, maybe bring down like a light and ask like Archangel Michael to help escort any energy that's in your space that's not yours. I'm not going to dive too much into that because I don't feel like it's going to pertain to most of you. But that is something that played like a huge role and still does. Like, one of my strongest senses with my psychic gifts is feeling. So I just feel energy. I feel it very intensely. I can feel it in my body when there's something that is foreign in my space. Even when like I feel like someone I actually know in real life is in my space, I will feel it in my body. Unfortunately, I don't love that, but I also am very strong with my knowing gifts, so I know when there's something in my space as well. But that's just something I wanted to touch on because I know that there's all sort of people listening. So yeah, feel free to message me if you want to talk about that in depth. But with that, I will also say to check your chakras. So like I said earlier, one of my strongest senses is feeling. So for me now, I can feel when a chakra is closed. For me, like, I was dealing with my crown chakra being too wide open because it can be too wide open. It's not as common. I see most people's being closed. But if you go through each chakra, especially like my chakra candles on my website, I will have like descriptions of what it feels like to have it closed or have it too wide open or it being balanced. If it's too wide open, especially your crown, you are just absorbing way too much shit. You're like constantly searching for an answer. And I think that's why my crown gets too wide open sometimes, because I'm trying to get these answers and like constantly thinking about what to do. So when it's too wide open, I feel in my body very ungrounded, very, very ungrounded. I feel a lot of anxiety. I just feel way too much. I don't know how to explain it to people, but that's something that I have to check in with myself. Now, I am a Reiki master, so I can close my chakra for myself, but you don't have to know how to do Reiki to do this for yourself. You can use crystals. You can just bring intention to it. You could bring in guides if you need to. There's crystals for each chakra. So that's something you want to look into. Make sure your root chakra is open. That's the grounding one. You want to make sure you're really grounded in that aspect. But your chakras being off can cause physical things in your body. Your heart chakra being closed, it could cause you to feel like chest pressure. I've been feeling that the last couple months on and off. So that's something you might want to look into. I'm not going to get too much into that because I know that doesn't pertain to everyone either, but it is something that can really help you with your anxiety, especially if you're having like 2 wide open chakras up top and all your bottom ones are closed. And also you can try to get a Reiki session done. That's something that could really, really help you. I always feel really relaxed and grounded after a Reiki session. There's certain meditations you can do. There's certain yoga practices that focus on grounding and, all that type of stuff. So with all of these modalities, I will touch on a few more. I'm not going to go into each one in detail, but if you've ever heard of EFT, which is also called like tapping, it's like tapping your certain points in your body, and you say like mantras during it. Look it up on YouTube. There's so many free ones that you can watch, but there are ones that help with anxiety. It just basically helps you get to a neutral place. So if you're having an anxiety attack, it's something that you can just do for yourself really quickly. Definitely look into that. There's also shaking, like shaking your body. We store a lot of trauma and, fear, worry, all those type of emotions in our body. You can just put on some music and just shake your body. It's kind of like the analogy that they use when like a rabbit goes back into their hole after being chased by like a deer or something. I'm not sure. I don't know if a deer would chase it, but you know what I mean? Like they shake off like the trauma. So you can do that. There's raging, like, just hitting some pillows. Obviously, don't hit anybody. Do this in like a safe environment where you're by yourself. Okay, maybe go to a rage room. Get some of that energy out of your body is what I'm trying to say. Also, meditation, obviously. So many good meditations that can help with anxiety and just calming the mind. But also, you can just sit with yourself and breathe and just let the thoughts be there. Let whatever comes through, come through, and let it leave like water. Just let it pass through you and just be present. And there's different breathing exercises you can do. Breath work is supposed to help with anxiety. I definitely feel like when I very first started breath work, it kind of gave me anxiety at first just because of like the feelings that you get when you're bringing in so much oxygen. But certain breaths, like breathing in through your nose, holding for a couple minutes, and then breathing out, and then breathing out more, and then holding. I would do this on a podcast. I don't know. That might be weird of me just like you know what I mean? Just bringing that in. There's breathing techniques where you can breathe in your nose, like through one nostril, and then you breathe out the other. It helps do something with the brain. I can't remember, but it does help with anxiety. Just do like 5 of them. So you breathe in more, hold, breathe out more, and then do that like 5 more times. It literally helps so much. I feel so much better just doing that. So there's those things. And then affirmations are so powerful. I think we forget that, but just saying like, no, I'm okay, I'm grounded, everything's okay. I do this a lot when I'm feeling like an anxiety attack about to happen or a panic attack. I try to talk myself out of it by just saying like, you're okay, you're safe, everything's okay. Having anxiety, I feel like, plays into the feelings of just being unsafe. So if we can do things that make us feel safe, like for me, I know I feel a lot safer when I'm going to the store or doing something with my boyfriend, because I know if I have those feelings of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to pass out here, oh my gosh, I know he's there. I know he's going to take care of me. So honestly, whatever you can do to create that safe feeling inside your body is, I think, one of the main things that would help anxiety in general. So these things that I'm sharing with you are things that help me feel safer in my body, things that I do for myself to make me feel like not so much in fight or flight. So being present and realizing that the things I'm worrying about aren't happening right now helps me feel safe. So that's just a perspective I wanted to share. But something that my teacher recently was talking about, and I touched on it in the last podcast episode, was when you do have a tendency to overthink, and maybe you are a recovering people pleaser like myself, you overanalyze, like, oh, what did I say to this person? Did it come out the way I wanted it to? Did they take it the wrong way? I think of all these things. Something that she suggested to help bring yourself into a place of neutrality is to say, so what? And my boyfriend did this to me the other day. He didn't quite say it the way that I told him, but it does help to have someone on board with you with this stuff, because they can remind you, hey, it's okay. Say it's okay. He'll do that to me. He'll say it's okay. It's going to be okay. And I shared with him, it's so what? So what if they got pissed off? So what if how you said it wasn't the way you wanted it to come across? So what? It's not that big of a deal. It's not that big of a deal. You just have to worry about yourself, truly. Obviously, we don't want to be upsetting anyone or making anyone feel some type of way. But at some point, as a people pleaser, you just have to let go and surrender. And I think with anxiety, like I said earlier, a lot of us want to control the situation. We want to control everything. And it puts us in this anxiety, fight or flight mode, because we're constantly trying to figure shit out. And we need to step more into surrendering and letting go and trusting in ourselves and trusting in God, trusting in the universe that it's going to be okay. And that if it's not, it's still going to be okay. You know what I mean? Like with the example I shared earlier, like whatever decision you make is the right decision, and just getting into that energy of being in the flow and surrendering, and stop trying to fix everything or make sure everything's perfectly in order. We need to get more into that surrender mode and just stop caring so much. If someone really, really like took something you said out of context, that's their problem. It's not yours. So what? So what? If they say something, they'll say something. If not, they won't. So what? We have to stop just thinking of everyone else and start thinking about ourselves. We have to make sure that we're good. We can't help what other people interpret things. And, I think a lot when we put ourselves even online, for instance, there's going to be someone that feels some type of way about you. There's going to be people that don't like you. There's going to be people that think you're the worst. And there's going to be people that think you're fucking awesome. And I think it's coming to terms with just being and just accepting that not everyone's going to like us, and not everyone is going to understand what we're saying and understand our point of view. Someone's always probably going to take something out of context. We have to stop worrying about it because we're putting way too much energy into it. We're wasting so much of our valuable energy on other people and what they think and making sure they're okay. What if you're okay? They're not sitting here thinking about, are you okay? Did what they say hurt your feelings? Most of the time, if someone hurt your feelings, they don't fucking think twice about it. So as someone who is working through this and trying to also listen to the things I'm telling you, we need to stop thinking so much about how we came across, because most of the time they're not thinking about it at all. They're not thinking about it at all. So just cut the cords. If your intention was good, that's all that fucking matters. And let it be, and just surrender and say, so what? So what? If I came across as a bitch, so what? They don't know I had a bad day. They don't know what I'm going through. And maybe you didn't come across as a bitch at all. maybe you came across really nice. We just have to get out of our heads, is what I'm trying to say. We have to get out of our heads. We have to just surrender and just say, so what? So what is so powerful. It's really something that's been helping me, because I do overanalyze and like worry about things, or what if someone's going to say something. And something I also do on top of the so what is the affirmations. I say things I'm grateful for. And if it is something pertaining to a situation I'm worried about, I will say, it's all going to work out. It's all going to work out. They're not going to say anything. It'll be like, it's fine. Everything's great. Everything's working out for my highest good. So it just helps you get out of that worry mode and out of that anxiety ridden mindset. And truly, this all takes some time. So it's not going to be an overnight thing. I just want to share everything that I have done and still am doing for myself. It's all about practice, and you will get to the point where you are unbothered and things don't bother you as much, and you don't have anxiety that overrules every day of your life. I promise you that. I promise you that. You keep trying and working on yourself, you will get there. It's just step by step. So something I want to touch on before I end this is that when I am having an anxiety attack, I do all the things that I have listed. I check on my energy. I ground myself. I cut cords. I make sure that's one of the most important things I do when I'm having anxiety or a panic attack, is that I make sure that I'm not absorbing someone else's energy and that this is my energy. So I do that, and I try to distract myself. So if I'm driving and I start to have those panicky feelings, I will blast the music on my way home and I will sing to the lyrics. Like, I will try to not even think about anything else other than the lyrics. That's something that has helped me. I try to eat something. One of my, like I said, anxiety things is that I'm afraid like I'm going to pass out, my sugar's going to drop or something, because I have had experiences in the past where my sugar does kind of get low. I have those like shaky feelings, which I have worked on so much with my health, and it's gotten so much better, but it's just something that's still like, I don't know, stuck within me, that I still have that fear lingering. I will bring a banana with me. Like, I'll bring food with me. I always bring something with me at the gym, because that's when I have like a good bit of anxiety, is that I'm afraid I'm going to like push myself too hard and like pass out. So I always make sure I have food, because there has been times at the gym that I do feel shaky and stuff. So that's something that is a comfort to me. I make sure that I have food on me at all times, just because I do have past experiences with it. So that's what makes me feel safe. And then, like I said, affirmations, I talk myself out of it. If I'm driving, I'm like, you're okay. You're going to get home safely. You're fine. Like, when you do that, it's like you're counteracting the negative thoughts. So that's something that really, really helps me. When I'm in the middle of a panic attack, and it has not happened in a really long time, things I've done in the past is to take deep breaths, doing those breathing techniques like I showed you. I have gotten myself outside with no shoes on, grounding myself. I'll call on Archangel Michael, because most of the time, anytime in the past I had a panic attack, it was some type of like foreign energy that was in my space, that was just kind of taking over my sovereignty. So I think with all of this too, is if you are more into the spiritual stuff, is to make sure you have sovereignty and power over yourself. Make sure that your crown is a bright gold, and to make sure that you are in control and you do protection, and just you will build that confidence within your own self empowerment stuff. I'm to the point where I do know how to handle things, and if there is some foreign energy or some energy thrown at me, I know how to deal with it, and it doesn't bother me as much as it used to. I call on angels. I call on my guides. I call for help if I'm in a middle of a panic attack. In the past, I have had my boyfriend just hold me, give me a hug. I know that anxiety blankets help a lot of people, weighted blankets. I don't love them because I do move around a lot, but they do help you feel like heavy in a good way and grounded. So like in the middle of a panic attack, I've had my boyfriend just kind of like hold on to me. I think being with someone helps a lot because it helps you like bring yourself back to earth. I burned some sage and Palo Santo. I definitely feel like that helps a lot too. Like, yes, I am talking about in the middle of a panic attack. I have been in the middle of like, I'm going to lose my fucking shit. I'm going to lose my fucking mind. Heart's beating. Like, I feel like I'm going to die. And I burned some Palo Santo or burned some sage. And it has helped me because it helps clear the energy. And like I said, I've not had one in a very long time. And I do feel like it's foreign energy, for me at least. So that's something I do. And after a panic attack, you feel absolutely fucking drained. You feel exhausted. It's like you just ran a marathon. So take the rest you need. Lay down, take a bath. If you have the rest of the day to do nothing, relax. And that's how I feel even with like anxiety. Some days I wake up and I just have anxiety. And if I have the whole day, I will just try to do those self-care things, those self-comforting things. If not, I do the things that I've listed to help me get through my work shift or whatever. I tend to have anxiety when I know I have to drive somewhere long distance or go somewhere new that I've never been before. So it's all things that I have experience with and they all have helped me. I will say the food thing is probably the number one thing that helped my anxiety though. And the psychic stuff that I've talked about, but that's just because I am very sensitive in that way. But those are the top things I feel like that help me in grounding myself. But they all play such a important role and an equal role that, yeah, I mean, maybe the essential oil one might be something you can leave out. Like, that's not something I always think about, but it is like a little tool that I have. But doing those modalities, like I said, like checking your chakras and maybe Reiki, EFT, all those things are really, really helpful. Yeah, I hope that this helped you guys. I know it's a longer episode, but there's just so much that goes into it. I didn't want to forget anything, and hopefully I didn't. I think I touched on everything that I do. I'm sure I'll forget something, but just talking to someone, obviously, if you need to get a therapist. Make sure that you just have that support. Like I said, during a panic attack, I try to find someone. If no one's home, I call them and I'm just like, talk me out of it. Like, I need to be brought back down. And if you do these things that I have shared, it should help you maintain that healthy balance to where you don't need to even like have someone talk you out of it. Because at some point you will get so good at it that you can almost talk yourself out of it. Like, I can talk myself off of like that ledge of like insanity of like a panic attack puts you in. I'm good at like talking myself down now, and I have the modalities obviously to do so. And I just wanted to share with you all of the things that I have learned and what have helped me and things I still do, because I know how bad anxiety fucking sucks. I wish I did not have anxiety. There has been times where I'm just like, oh my God, kill me. Anxiety can be so fucking debilitating, and my heart goes out to anyone that might be in that stage of life where you just feel like you can't function or leave your house. Girl, I understand. That was me like almost the whole pandemic. I was so scared to leave my fucking house, and it wasn't even necessarily like COVID itself, just in general. I just got to this place in my life that if I went to Walmart, like I was just almost feeling like I was going to pass out. And little did I know, if you want to get into the spiritual aspect of things, Walmart has a lot of foreign energy in it. So if you feel like you're just being overtaken by energy when you go to Walmart, that is why. I had to find that out. But also, like, through all of this too, I was going through a very deep spiritual apprenticeship that I was really opened up, like, psychically and spiritually. So I was feeling things like way deeper than I ever have in my life. I have gotten to a place where I keep a lot of that at a distance now. Like I shut things down. I don't open myself up like that. If someone's like, oh, you're psychic, why can't, well, read me right now. No, that's not how that works. Not going to do that. If you want, you can have a Reiki session, but I'm not doing that. Like, you just have to have those boundaries. I think with everything in life, people, you have to have boundaries, but also you have to have that spiritual psychic boundaries. And yeah, I know that doesn't pertain to everyone listening, but it is something to take in consideration if you are very sensitive to energy. Like I said, anxiety is fucking terrible. I understand that everyone suffers differently with it. I think we all have experienced some type of anxiety. I think the normal average person has experienced a little taste of it, but to actually have it and suffer with it, I think is completely different and is very debilitating and honestly very depressing at times. Very, very depressing, because you feel like you can't function and be a normal human being. And there's a lot of times where I feel like I just want to be normal, but there is things that you can do to help manage it. And I swear you will get there. I'm to a place, knock on wood, that I feel like it's at a very minimal amount in my life. And thankfully, I have found the things that work for me, and you will find the things that work for you. I know that there's hope. Please don't give up with it. If, medication is what you need to do it. I'm not against it whatsoever. I just wanted to share some of the things that I do for myself. Just because, like I said earlier, I just don't have the best experience with it. And if need be, at some point, my anxiety gets really, really bad again, it is something that I will look into for sure. But nothing else. I don't smoke weed. Weed does not help my anxiety. It makes it a million times worse, but sometimes it helps other people. So I just wanted to share what has helped me, and take what resonates and leave what doesn't. If there's something that I didn't mention that really helps you, definitely leave them in the comments below if you're on YouTube. I definitely encourage, one of the first steps to do is to just try to find a doctor or like a holistic doctor that can help you make sure that, you're not deficient in anything, and just see if you are maybe allergic to something and rule that out. I feel like that plays a huge, huge role. And just the things we consume in general. I think anxiety can also be amplified if you are constantly around toxic people or consuming maybe toxic content. Sometimes if you're just constantly watching like sad shit all the time, like movies, that could be something that could make you anxious. Maybe you're absorbing it. And I don't know, I think just being aware of your surroundings in general is something to keep in mind. I think being around people that trigger your anxiety is something that you should definitely try to eliminate in your life. Toxic situations, toxic relationships. If your work's giving you anxiety, just do what you can. Obviously, like, you can't just quit your job, but try to rule out anything that is causing you stress and anxiety in your physical environment first, because getting away from toxic people can definitely help significantly. If you're around people that are just constantly doing shit that is putting you in like fight or flight mode and causing you stress, that's going to make your anxiety worse. So obviously just do what you can with that. I think that would probably be the first step in trying to heal your anxiety, is to look around you and make the changes that you can. But the things I shared is something that you definitely can try too. And if you are going to try them, or if you do later on in the future and you want to come back to this podcast episode and comment, hey, that worked, please do so. Help spread the awareness of it. But I'm going to shut up now. I hope that this helps someone that may be suffering, or if you know someone that may be suffering, send them this episode. Send them to your partner maybe so that they can help you with some of these things that I suggested. I hope that you all just find the answers you need. And if you need someone, reach out to me. I can try to help you as best as I can. If you are listening on Apple, I would love if you could leave a review. It just really helps the podcast grow. And if you guys have any questions, like I said, you can reach out. If you want to follow me on my social medias, it's at Madison Ansel. My oils, crystals, candles are all on my website, lotusmebloom.com. All my socials for Lotus Me Bloom is at Lotus Me Bloom. And everything will be linked in the comments below. I hope you guys all have a fantastic week. And if you have any suggestions for podcast topics, please message me on Instagram. I definitely struggle sometimes of knowing what to talk about, but I will let you guys go. I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye, guys.